A one, a two, a 1, 2, 3. Oh, excommunication when you think they would be hating, but there ain't no debating, there's still common ground.
Watching movies and some streaming with your ex, it's so redeeming. They're both pretty snarky, it's about to go down. It's a girl from California and a man about town.
On excommunication. Yeah.
Excommunication. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
What did
didn't
you think
even
of my
change my
outro?
I didn't even change my ratty t-shirt. For the people that are listening to the podcast, you don't care, but if we ever put this out on video, you're gonna care because this thing is threadbare.
Well, add it to the
pretty bad.
list of all the constructive feedback we've been giving each other.
Your
Should we
constructive
share?
feedback you were ignoring because I say more booey.
Because I'm still talking over you. Well, let's share. Let's start the episode 3 by sharing the constructive feedback we gave each other behind the scenes. So yours was that I interrupt constantly and talk over you. Mine was that you sounded really negative and curmudgeon-y. And so basically it was like we had a corporate meeting where we had to find professional ways to tell each other that we're already annoying the crap out of each other. So I just found that to be
No, those are
very
production
productive.
meetings that need to be had with any endeavor, creative or otherwise. So, and in a lot of cases, people do podcasts and get all that down before they start dropping their episodes and recording their episodes. But I don't think we have time for all that. I think we're much more wingers. We wing. So we're winging it.
That we are.
And I'm sure both people listening are loving every minute of it.
Can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait for the 2 comments that we're going to get.
Well, welcome back to the Excommunication podcast. If this is your
who's
first
interrupting
episode.
who now? Sorry.
Oh, that was an interruption. What was that?
Yeah, anyways, go on.
What were you saying?
No, I was just saying that I can't wait for the 2 hate comments we're going to get from the 2.
I heard that part, and then I said, welcome back to the Excommunication podcast, episode number 3. And if you haven't heard this podcast before, that is Melissa. I am Scott. We are technically exes, but we still communicate. And sometimes we talk about TV shows. Sometimes we talk about movies. Sometimes we talk about clivage. But usually we're basically recording the phone conversations we have so that you can be privy to peculiar people in a situationship. Well, I mean, you're peculiar. I'm totally normal, but I'm trying to make you feel included in the peculiar train. It just coincidentally, we both wore baseball caps today. For listeners, you can't see them. One says San Diego. One says player because it's a WSOP hat. So I think that's the kind of synergy that inspired us to do a podcast because we connect certain days. It's a non-traditional relationship, whatever you call it, a blend ship, a long distance WTF ship. But the good news is this is episode 3. This is probably the point where we'll drop all 3 of the first episodes together. So I think we should celebrate our successes, whatever we might perceive them to be. And it's killing you not to interrupt me, but I appreciate it. We're both working on our podcasting chops. I need to, if we're going to do video, which I'm not sure we should, I need to shave. I need to get up, and do things like take showers and wash my hair. But for the moment, it's all brain power. So you're the beauty, I'm the beast. And this episode, we're going to talk about Pluribus.
You done now? You know, I actually looked up after your feedback. I looked up a human muzzle on Amazon and things popped up and I got excited, but no, it was humane muzzle for dogs. So
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense because I thought, wow, I guess they do sell human muzzles, but nope.
I think you're
So
looking for one of those gag balls, but
yeah,
those are not for what you think it's
not for
for.
this podcast. No,
Exactly. Thank you. That's a
maybe
different.
the spinoff one I'm planning. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
a
one I
far
gotta
more
order.
profitable podcast. So we're going to talk about Pluribus. That is a show that finished its first season on a streaming service called
Apple
Apple
TV.
Plus. Isn't it Apple Plus?
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I don't pay attention to such things. I'm more about the art.
How do you watch it if you don't know if it's on Apple Plus?
It just has the Apple logo. I don't pay attention to it, whether it's TV Plus. Yeah, I'm not about all that.
Okay, anyway, so we are knowledgeable experts on entertainment. And Pluribus
People can Google Pluribus and figure it out. Okay, it's not that hard.
finished
Like I
its
said, I'm more about
first
the art of the
season,
show.
the art of the Pluribus on Apple Plus. And I think this is going to be a great episode because it is, I wouldn't say rare, but it's kind of a special moment when we kind of agree, for the most part, about a show and we like it. And so hopefully someone who's listening has perhaps watched it or perhaps binged watched it recently, so it's still fresh. I started binge watching a couple days ago. I've gotten through to like episode 3 or 4, but overall, I think this show is very special. I think it's gotten a lot of buzz. It's hard to know how popular things are now because you can be the biggest show on Apple Plus and a huge portion of the population has never seen it. Unlike back in the day, if you were a hit on a network, it might not be everybody, but you could be pretty sure that a lot of people watch Cheers and MASH. So if you started a conversation
Taking it
with
way back.
people, well, what's something more recent that's been popular on network TV?
Does network TV even exist anymore?
It exists. It's just terrible. I
How I
watch.
Met Your Mother? I don't know.
What?
Even that's dated. How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah, I don't. I've never seen it.
2.5 Men?
Barely heard of it.
Yeah.
I watch it for Survivor because it's like season 50. But still, I don't know that even super popular shows now have the kind of viewership that a MASH would get. I think on the finale of MASH, I think it was like 70% of the households with TVs were watching the finale
There were 3
of MASH.
channels, right? Back then?
Right. And you would just never get that percentage of the population watching. The closest is probably something like the Super Bowl. And that's still not, there's still 100 channels people are watching, even during the Super Bowl. So it's just a different world. So, but I think that if you're thinking about subscribing to Apple Plus, I think Pluribus might be the reason to do that. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I think that it is the most popular show for the platform and possibly the most expensive or the one they put the most money towards. And yeah, it's worth subscribing for sure. Even if it's just for that
Agree.
show. There's other shows too that I want to check out, but
And
Pluribus is
for
the popular.
fans of Pluribus, there's also an official podcast, which I listen to, which is really interesting because they split it between kind of interviews with folks behind the scenes, they'll pick a subject area and they'll just talk with that person. If it's the movement person or a production person, they'll have a 45-minute conversation with them, or they just call in the lead actress and the producer and have kind of a group chat around a given episode. And you often get insights into kind of the thinking behind the show and some of the more technical things that you wouldn't get from just watching the show. So I really like that as well. And of course, there are millions of online groups to discuss it. And I think that is a key component for hits today, that there's an online component and a community that forms around these shows, so that even if they're a sliver of the population, it's a very passionate sliver. And a lot of those folks sit around all day and just come up with theories. And I think in the case of Pluribus, somebody like looked in a satellite photo of something and kind of found a key, plot point by, like, people just have
they built
nothing
the
better
whole
to do.
cul-de-sac in the show for our
Yeah.
main character.
So why don't you give an overview? Would you like me to, or would you like to give an overview of what Pluribus is about?
So, meaning like a log line for people that might not have watched the show?
Yeah, like, how would you describe this program?
Okay, well, the official log line, I think what you would see on a poster, was initially the most miserable person on earth has to save the world from happiness, right? So that doesn't really,
I never saw that.
that doesn't really go into obviously what the show is. But, obviously that's very kind of attention grabbing. If I saw that on a poster, I'd want to see the movie or the show. So, but how I would describe it, I guess an alien virus is transmitted to Earth that creates a situation where the consciousness of every being on Earth gets smushed into one entity. And so kind of parallel to AI. And except for 13 people who are immune. And so through the main protagonist, whose name is Carol, who lives in the US, and the other immune, we kind of see it through their eyes, and they band together to save the world from this quote unquote alien virus.
Well, I don't think there's been any banding yet.
Oh, not yet, but
yeah.
spoiler
And
alert.
I don't know that we know that's going to happen, but two of the people seem to at least understand that it's something to be resisted. But
Right.
that was
Two of the people have made it pact. You're right.
was a great overview.
Why,
Thank you, Melissa.
Well, what's your overview? Now it's your turn.
Well, I personally have a problem with her being described as miserable because I identify with her. Like when they're traveling to the place with the ice bed, I'm with her. Like,
Yeah.
what are we doing?
I've
I'm a
been
published
on vacation
author.
with you.
I
where
could
you
go to a
were.
fancy hotel and we're in a hotel sleeping on ice. Like, I don't think she's miserable. I think she tells it like it is, but she also has a soft side. And I think this show is a really great character development piece because it's really well written for this actress. You know her name.
Rhea Seehorn. I thought it was Rhea, but it's Rhea Seehorn. And I was a big fan. I've been a big fan of her since Better Call Saul.
I don't know her. She's not, I wouldn't call her a looker. Not that that's important.
Oh, yeah, she's super attractive.
But anyway, her alien counterpart. Now we're getting into.
Well, yeah, that's your type. So you don't like blondes.
I think that's really irrelevant. But
hence why this is called Excommunication. Just have
the one thing I want to say. The first couple of episodes in rewatching them, they are so efficient. They are so efficient at creating this, really getting into this premise. It's at once familiar and new. It is really, if you break it apart, there's not a single part of it that's original, but all of it feels new and fresh and original. And I love the idea that we have seen so many zombie movies that have this kind of similar theme of like spreading saliva through, in the case of zombies, through biting. But then people turn, and everybody in the world turns in this movie. And there are moments where they play on those kind of well-worn cinematic cliches almost. of in the background, you see a body, somebody walking towards you. And there's a scene where there's a guy trying to get something out of a vending machine. And in the back, you see the worker that has just been bitten by a rat. And you see them walking closer and closer. And she sits down next to him. You're like, is she going to? Nope. She kisses them. And then he turns. So it has a lot of these same kind of devices as zombie movies. But then just as efficiently, there's this pivot to, why are people speaking in unison? Why is everybody frozen? Why is everybody coming back to life? Why is there no fear or antagonism or violence being directed at Carol or anybody? And so I just think it was so well done, and they give you just like they did it in layperson's terms, that the signal from 600 light years away, which is, in the sci-fi world, that's not far. 600 light years, it's far in human terms, but it's not like Star Trek far, right? And so it's relatively close. The scientists find it. They realize it's code for something. They botch it, and now every human being is infected except for these 13. I just think it was really, really well done. It was a fine way to start the series.
Is it my turn now?
Speak freely. It was just...
Speak freely, and then when I speak freely, you say I'm interrupting you. We need like a buzzer or like anything to raise my hand.
Excommunication.
So anyways, yes, I agree that I think when I first saw the pilot, I thought, well, I know it's not a zombie show per se, but I think that's an accurate analogy. I think that it's kind of taking that genre and turning it on its head, because I'd read an interview with Vince Gilligan where he said that when he was originally conceptualizing the show, he thought, well, what if there was an apocalyptic event and there were these kind of others, zombies, so to speak, but they look happy and it looks like it's a better deal than being human, because we're so used to seeing zombies. I don't find them to be a dynamic antagonist. I think they're just lunkheads that walk around and they're foaming at the mouth and their limbs are falling off. But to me, they're boring. Like, they don't really have a code of conduct. I guess they just bite people to turn them. But other than that, yeah, it's just, I know you've been into zombie movies and shows, but we've never really clicked on that because that's never been my thing. And I think that's why, for the first time in the history of us knowing each other, we really connected on a show where it was 100% equal interest level. Because, yeah, I mean, I love apocalyptic shows as well, but I felt like this was, so fresh and so different. And the pilot, my flabbers were gasted. I thought, whoa, like, what is going on? With the like planes crashing out of the sky, then everyone's having a seizure. Why is everyone having a seizure except this woman that we're following her journey? And why does everyone know her name, as you were saying? And then, yeah, the presidential candidate talking to her through the TV. I actually paused it, I think, and texted you and asked, is this a simulation? Like, I can't explain what's going on. And that hasn't happened in a really long time. I think shows have gotten so predictable where you can kind of see where it's going. Things have been done. And I thought, wow, I can't explain what's happening. And you said, no, that's not Vince Gilligan's style. And yeah, you were right. It's harder to build a world like this as is versus, oh, she's just in a simulation. She's like hooked up to a pod somewhere. That's lazy writing. So obviously with amazing talent like Vince Gilligan, of course, they just knocked it out of the park with the pilot. I was just like, this is event television, as you had mentioned.
Yep. And I think that gets to the point of like the creation of that reality that it definitely has some things that are out there. But once you accept that that's the reality, it raises some just really great questions. and it raises them in a way that's so entertaining. And this actress imbues this character with humor in a way that it feels very human. She's being confronted by things that are just mind-boggling, but she kind of keeps it grounded and real, so that are you checking your text? Who's writing you? That's
No, I'm just
inappropriate.
checking my notes.
Oh,
What is wrong with you?
and I what if I started checking the what up? Anyway,
Go ahead.
I think it's adorable you have notes, but
Share the wealth. If you
so
have a
yeah.
hot girl, bring her over.
What the hell?
Anyways,
Wow. But it so anyway, but yeah, there's just so many great moments. There's moments of just surprise and that are so cleverly done, and they're almost like they're done. It makes intuitive sense that these beings that are humans are trying to please the people who haven't gone over yet, who haven't been assimilated yet. And so, just as an example, I thought it was really clever. So, because every human knows everything that every other human knows, when she gets on a plane to go to this meeting to the other humans that have not been affected, the plane is being flown by a young woman who I think maybe worked at TGI Fridays or a place like that. Well, later when she's flying on the plane again, because she made that comment about, oh, is it the kid from TGI Fridays flying the plane? They found two humans that look the most piloty. So those moments in the script are so clever because it's the same thing with the grenade. So she makes a quip about, why don't you bring me a grenade, blah, blah, blah. She's being sarcastic, but they bring her an actual hand grenade. So there's these moments where it makes so much sense that I don't want to call them aliens because they're not aliens. They're humans with it's basically, remember that I think there's an ant, like there's something that bores into the brains of ants and turns them into zombie ants. Like that's what it is. It's like they're still ants, but their brains have been taken over by this fungus that makes them act in a different way. And so, but there are just so many moments like that where it's kind of like they don't quite know how to take her frustration, her sense of humor, her sarcasm, and even though they have everyone that part doesn't make that much sense to me, because if you're everyone in the world, you would know it was sarcasm. If you had a million brains working on it, if she said bring me a hand grenade, you would know she's being sarcastic. But I think as a dramatic device, you have to bring her a hand grenade to have something happen in the.
Well, just like AI
the
isn't
episode.
funny. You think if it had access to all the jokes that have ever been delivered in the entire universe, that it would be able to handle humor better than it does?
Yeah. Well, I think it's doing a darn fine job of spitballing, but its jokes are definitely lacking. If they were good, I'd be fired from my blogging job. So,
Or you'd be sued for copying all the jokes from ChatGPT.
Oh, no, because
Sorry to bring up a sore subject. I shouldn't talk about you getting sued.
Those are public domain.
But this is a good segue into one of the questions I had, which is, would you classify, based on what you said, since they're so appeasing to our protagonist and to all the immune, they, just bend over backwards to make them happy, whatever they want in the world, as long as it's not causing harm. They do have a code of conduct, so they can't harm an animal. In this scene where they are having this luncheon where all the immune meet up, and Kumba Diabate, who is the guy, the kind of Carol refers to him as Casanova McBoner, the guy who's kind of taking
That was my
advantage of.
name in high school. It was
There you
such a
go.
weird coincidence.
Flashback. Who is taking advantage of all the fruits that they are offering. He asks for lobster, and they tell him, "Oh, sorry, we can't do that because all the lobster was gone, and we can't kill anything." So they are not able to kill, and they are supposedly not able to lie. And we discover this with Carol, as she's kind of learning about who they are and the parameters of this new world, and she like writes it on her whiteboard. But yeah, I forgot the point I was making. Oh, the argument of whether they are sinister or not. So I've seen this brought up in Reddit threads of, are they gaslighting the immune? Are they giving them what they want, but there's an ulterior motive? And so I'd want to hear your thoughts on that, whether you think that they are sinister, whether it's something we don't understand and we're just putting a human spin on it.
No, I think it leads to 100 questions because they, the other aspect of this is because I think it's completely believable that this alien entity wants everybody to be of one mind and that one mind can be peaceful and collaborative. It's a beautiful thought. But Earth, it has big challenges because I think they've said, based on not being able to kill anything, that in a certain period of time, everyone's going to die. The big twist, if you haven't watched the show, everything we're talking about is spoilers, so
yeah, and you're not going to
fair
know what
warning.
you're talking about.
But the alive humans on Earth are eating the remains of the dead humans in a way that's not offensive. Like they're not chewing on somebody's calf, but they've turned it into a substance they consume. But even that is going to have diminishing returns. So everybody's going to die. So now we've got, and a lot of these questions I think are being raised so that they can be answered in upcoming seasons. But like, what purpose does this virus serve? What purpose does it serve for everyone to be of one mind? If you, because I think it raises a question of like, if you could be a part of the hive mind, would you? That this South American woman, this young woman in one of the episodes is like, that's what I want. The way it's being described, I want that. I want to be a part of that. And I think there's a case to be made for that. Like and that's one of the things Carol talks about a lot is like what you give up. But what you give up, it's kind of like you give up your being an asshole. Like you don't get to that individuality that we're so proud of. Often it makes you a Karen. It makes you a jerk. It makes you violent. In the case of men, it makes you
Point.
So we have this lofty idea about what it is to be human and an individual, to have a self-expression, but that individuality is selfish. Whereas this collective, and she described it in this episode I'm watching as being a worker bee. Like, how long do I have before I become a worker bee? Because they rebuild an entire sprouts from nothing as the hive. Hundreds of people show up out of nowhere to make a grocery store for her, to restore it.
They're gaslighting her, I feel, with that. Like, I noticed that, again, the argument of are they sinister versus are they not? What are their intentions? They always kind of give Carol, or they take something away from Carol, and then they make a big production about replacing it, but acting like, oh, look what we did for you, Carol, because we love you. They take her wife. Her wife dies in the, takeover when the virus takes over. A lot of people die because some people are flying planes or driving. And so they do it instantaneously. And her wife is a casualty of that. And then they're like, oh, we killed your wife, Carol, but look what we did. We found a woman who looks like one of your book characters to be your guide. And then lo and behold, she falls in love with her. Oh, Carol, we're going to take away your sprouts, but look, we're going to replace it in an hour. Look how
with those
amazing
sprouts.
we are.
Well,
right?
her girlfriend, that was an upgrade. I mean, if these beings, they deserve credit for that upgrade, because her girlfriend, but
Well,
this
and one of the things
new...
they take away is they take away a sense of purpose. I'm just ignoring that.
Thank you.
Because when she figures out that they're doing something weird behind the scenes and there's like a factory where they're doing something, she goes to investigate. And so there's like a whole episode dedicated to Carol kind of going in and trying to figure out what's going on, what are they doing? And then when she figures out they're eating leftover people, she then gets this newfound sense of purpose, and then she sets out to Vegas, and then we get the Vegas episode. But then once she gets there, they take the wind out of her sails because she's all worked up and she's telling Diabate, you've got to sit down for this. I've figured it out and I have big news. And then he's like, oh yeah, they're eating people. And then he's like, oh, yeah, I have a video for you. And then it's like John Cena explaining, which I thought was like comic relief and super funny. But yeah, again, and then they take away her sense of purpose. And so I think that is kind of one notch in the column of, okay, that does sound a little bit nefarious with kind of how they're conducting their business. And the fact that they say they can't lie, but then they kind of twist words and use omission. And then even Carol calls that out in the Vegas episode. She goes, oh, I guess all the lawyers survived, which I thought was a great line too. So yeah, I've gone back and
those
forth.
lines are so funny. Like when she said, oh, you have every marketer that's ever existed and you're calling it the joining. That's not... Yeah. Those are funny. But so to what end? Why are they gaslighting? They're not men, so they're not trying to get in your pants.
Okay, so is it... Sorry.
Are they trying to wipe out humanity? Because there's some people who would say that too is a noble thing. That's a noble goal to have everyone die and to get the planet back to its pristine state. So I consider that a benevolent invasion as well, because we're all very precious about life and all that crap. But I think that's a noble, and the animals are fine. The animals are going to keep going.
No, they're not fine. What are you talking about? They traumatized us with the baby goat. The baby goat in Peru with Casamayu, the Peruvian girl. Remember when she gets turned, she's holding the goat. Oh, that's another vote in the sinister column. She's holding the goat. She's bonded to the goat. And then she turns and the poor little baby goat is running after her and bleeding and crying. And she's just like,
it's not bleeding.
Yeah,
why would it bleed?
What?
The goat's not bleeding. It's just standing there on a little lump of dirt.
It's crying for her. You missed that.
It's not bleeding.
I thought bleeding was crying. I thought bleeding means a goat.
Oh, bleeding. Like BLEATING.
Oh, sorry.
You knew the word
drawing
bleeding?
Out the big words here.
You knew the word bleeding.
What?
You knew the word bleeding.
Anyways, so I would say
this is going to be the name of the episode. I'm also kind of turned on.
I gotta be bleeding for you.
Bleeding. How did you know this?
Maybe you didn't know.
No, I've heard the word bleeding, but I thought you were saying bleeding like the goat had been cut and was bleeding. But
okay. Fair enough. But maybe you didn't know what that meant, and so now you know.
No, I know what it means. I'm a professional writer.
You know every word.
It means a weak, whining, or complaining sound. How have you never accused me of bleeding before?
Yeah, I guess we learn something new about each other every day.
Originally, this sound a sheep or goat makes. Holy shit. Where did you get that from?
Okay, I feel like this is very patronizing. And can we edit this out? Can you also edit out the part where my mind totally went blank and I was like, what was my point again? Because
Nope.
I'm supposed to be a little bit more polished as a podcast.
No, the charm is in the Michigas.
Anyways,
Now I feel like I have to use bigger words because I would have bet a number of hundreds of dollars that would have been a no. Sorry. I think you're super intelligent. Huh?
Oh, if I knew the meaning of that?
Yeah. Or that you would
Why?
use that word. I don't know. I'm overwhelmed. I'm overstimulated.
Wow.
It's not an insult. It's just like, you wouldn't think I would ever use the word like je ne sais quoi. That would just never be a thing you would think I would know.
Okay, here's a test. What is the millennial pause? Define millennial pause.
Well, if you have a young dog,
bleeding.
if you have a young dog, it's their feet.
A millennial pause.
Yeah, it's their paws.
Where does the millennial part come in?
They're young. It's a young dog.
You don't know. And you can't admit it. Rather than saying, I don't know, now you're just trying to come up with some funky explanation.
When an individual starts recording on their phone and they push the button and they think it takes a moment to start recording, they pause. So when they're recording, there's the millennial pause.
Okay, well, I forgot you're chronically online. Okay, what is the Gen X delay?
Well, when you have sex with a younger person, delay is with a Gen X.
I'm actually gaslighting you now because I just made that up.
What the hell?
It doesn't exist. It does now, though. It does for our podcast because we're talking about shows that the conversation has died out. So I'm coining it now. I mean, though, I'm in between millennial and Gen X, and you're in between Gen X and Boomer. So it tracks. So Gen X delay.
Let's not talk about age.
All right.
Shan't
yeah,
we?
I'm gonna remember that one.
But let's talk about the very interesting relationship between Carol and her pirate girlfriend, because I think it's one of the more interesting aspects of the show, because there's a moment where the town abandons Carol, the entire city. Where are they? Tempe?
They're away from Carol,
Arizona,
but close enough where they can send a drone.
Yeah, they all leave town. So Carol at first is like, that's awesome. Get rid of all these drones. Not that kind of drone, the other kind, these mindless ghouls. And I'm going to play golf, and I'm going to go to a fancy restaurant, and I'm going to do the things I want to do on my own. She's like freshly out of a relationship. Like, she's going to go do all those things. Well, as time progresses, you can see that she is just overwhelmed with loneliness. And when she sees her drone friend again, Sasha. Is that it?
Zosha.
Yes, Zosha. She like literally collapses into her arms because she missed human contact so much. And she starts to have feelings for Zosha. So now we've actually got her involved and caring and being delivered experiences like she's the king or queen of the world, just like the other guy was taking advantage of right out of the gate with Air Force One and the bevy of babes. Like, he got it right away, but Carol is sort of going, wait a minute, so I can go to a ski resort one day, I can travel around the world, I can have access to a plane, I can do anything I want with my Audi drone girlfriend, and the drone girlfriend is like super smart. Like, you can talk to her about any subject because she has contact with every brain on earth. She's a little bit annoying because she's like, she kind of mansplains everything.
She is not a she, by the way. She's a they, but not in a modern pronoun type sense. She's everyone.
Oh, because she's everyone. She's a they. Well, that raises some interesting questions, because did she ever ask, like, when we're having sex, is everybody in the world privy to our sex? Because when she had a drink of liquor, Zosha said, it doesn't really work like that. The world doesn't get drunk when I have a drink. So I assume that means when they're having scissor love, that nobody's there for the scissoring.
They kind of explain it indirectly where when they are getting, I think when they're on their date and they are getting massages and Zosha gets, and they also kind of talk to each other. And I've heard message boards call it they call it Bluetooth because they're plurbs. And so they kind of communicate with each other. And
Bluetooth is so clever.
Yeah. So Zosha mentions that she mentions all the people that are like either having a child or, she's like, someone just got impaled. So, but she says, we don't feel it, but we know it. So that's kind of how they explain it. So I feel like with sex, it's kind of, it can work both ways where they know the sex is happening, but they're not necessarily feeling it or inside the body to be able to know what's happening.
Well, that's interesting. And that plays into what you said before about I guess you would call it a code of conduct, but it's also kind of like, here's the reality of this, and they've actually spent multiple episodes kind of with Carol poking at, well, are you allowed to lie? Are you allowed to this? Or can you do this? And she actually gives Zosha like a truth serum at one point to kind of disconnect her from the hive mind so she can answer a question. I don't even remember what the question was now, but I'm sure it had to do with cannibalism. But it, and maybe too much of that has happened of kind of like, well, here's this other rule that you didn't know about, and now you can talk about that for this episode or whatever. I think the only thing we really disagreed about, I didn't want to forget about this, but there was an episode that was extraordinarily dull. And it basically involved this gentleman from South America, one of the Bad Bunny countries.
Yeah, thank you. That's where I shine, is in the details. He is of Colombian descent living in Paraguay.
Wow. So this Paraguayan, so the conspiracy theory Bad Bunny makes his way up to
Bad Bunny. What are you talking about?
Well, doesn't he speak Spanish?
Oh God.
I'm trying to connect it with pop culture.
And be racist while you're doing it.
Excuse me, that is xenophobia, not racism, because I don't know what race he is. But anyway.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Exactly. Just not being an entitled American and not even knowing what country someone's from.
Bad Bunny taught me like 40 different countries. Bad Bunny rattled them off. And now I loved on TikTok. This will definitely date this episode, but a day or two ago, Bad Bunny rattles off all these countries in his halftime performance, and I'm watching TikTok, and they had different groups of people in those countries, like in Honduras, just waiting and waiting and wait. And then when he said their country, they were so happy. Like, whatever harm it's done in America, getting the racists to rally, I think that moment around the world was so powerful, because why somebody would want to be mentioned on a Super Bowl, who gives a shit? But
can you hear my dog barking? I'm sorry. Can you hear?
Have you been walking around a lot, you mean?
What? She's in the room, so she's barking now. Can you hear her? Or
see, there's an expression when you walk around and your feet hurt, your dogs are barking. So I said, have you been walking around a lot?
Your dogs are barking?
Yeah, your dogs are barking.
That sounds so old-timey. That sounds like something someone would say from
well.
20s. But you're not
That's my
old.
answer to your bleeding.
But anyways,
your bleeding heart.
But I thought it was funny. I saw a TikTok where, because he mentioned when he was naming off, all the countries in America, because America is not just the US, he also mentioned Canada. And so I saw like a TikTok where a girl was like, oh, this is how Canadians feel today. And it's like, I'm from Canada. I'm from Ontario. I'm from Alberta.
That's good.
Because I kind of made them,
Did you see
you don't think of Canada in America. I mean, yeah, you think of it in North America, but just to include it in all of the
Americas.
Yeah, of the Americas. It was funny.
Well, can we exclude like Mississippi?
Sure.
Only got 3 teeth left.
Most of your fans, I feel, are from Mississippi. So
no, they're all from Canada.
Got all your
and now they aren't coming to Vegas anymore. Anyway,
oh, that's
so
right. Anyway, side note, yeah, that's
speaking
a
of
pet peeve I
Pluribus,
have.
so now we have come to the end of Pluribus, where Carol has had some conflict with our Paraguayan friend, but they finally realized that there is a bigger fish to fry. I don't actually remember why she came to that conclusion, but a helicopter flies in and puts down what she says is a nuclear weapon or an atomic weapon. And that was like the big cliffhanger of the final episode, which I think they were forced to put in because it wasn't a big enough ending the way they were doing it. So now we've got this big smoking gun. And as everyone knows in the theatrical community, it was a Chekhovian device that he believed that if you had a gun on stage, you have to use it in some capacity. You can't just have a gun on stage. So I think if they follow that line of thought, we're going to have this moment. I think it's absurd because an atomic bomb wouldn't do anything. Like, it's not going to stop or change anything. It's just going to blow up the town. So I think it's for dramatic effect. But I think they've asked so many interesting questions during this first season. I think what follows, it's really compelling to think about how this is all going to kind of unfold. And I'm hoping they can stay away from these self-indulgent episodes where it's an hour of like pictures of landscapes. The what?
I liked it. So let's do favorite and least favorite episode.
By far, that was my least favorite. It accomplished nothing in the storytelling.
Episode 7, The Gap, I believe.
All it did, speaking of The Gap, but the only thing it accomplished was that it showed how devoted he is to that he's not going to cave in. He's not going to accept their help. He did, but it was involuntary. He was ready to die and they saved him. But for the most part, he, at his core, understands what Carol was bringing up early on, but kind of forgot because she was getting some action, was that idea of this needs to be fought. Something's not right here. Doesn't matter how many people are telling her, this doesn't seem like the end of the world. This doesn't seem all bad. It doesn't matter how many people say that or how seduced they are by this peacefulness and this calmness and this joy and this happiness. That's not what humanity is or what it's about. And it needs to be, something needs to happen. And of course, in all these online communities that you've seen, everybody has a theory about how you can, interrupt the connection, but in the Bluetooth or whatever, it has to do with radio waves or whatever it is. But I think that'll be fun to explore. And I just hope they have a bigger vision for the way this is going to go, so they don't lead us down this path and they just leave us hanging with some dumb thing at the end. It was all just a dream. Like, I couldn't take it.
By the way, I think Menounos is like the Jesus Christ character in the show. And I mean, obviously it's not going to be on the nose with the religious undertones, but the fact that there's 13 immune. So that's like Jesus and the apostles. And so I've seen people say there's parallels to Carol being kind of like Judas. But yeah, I mean, he actually gets impaled, if you think about it, when he's crossing the Darien Gap. And so I think, yeah, that has symbolism too. Like, he's literally sacrificing himself for something that he believes, is right, to stop the hive. And he believes that they're stealing humanity. So he's sacrificing himself for a greater purpose. And Carol, you said, was about that life until the hot chick showed up, and then she kind of lost her way, but then Menounos kind of ropes her back in. But okay, favorite episode. I know the answer to this, but I'm just gonna let you answer it anyway.
Well, I mean, the sentimental favorite that we haven't even talked about is there's a great episode in Las Vegas it was great because it was at the Westgate. It was because it came just out of the blue. If you know Las Vegas, you know how funny it is that he chose Westgate because he wanted to stay in the Elvis suite. I'm talking about Jesus or whatever you called him.
Menudos.
Yeah. Menudo he wants to come to Las Vegas and stay in the suite Elvis was in. And yeah, and that also had a major twist in it because the way they're going to get people to all human beings to convert is to use their stem cells, but they are not allowed to take the stem cells unless the human agrees. But the workaround in this case was in the Ice Castle episode. Carol mentions that she had her eggs frozen, so now the loophole is that they're going to get the whatever from her eggs. And it's going to take time to do it. It's going to take time to make it into something viable that they can use. But they've been candid all along about that they're trying, the plan is to convert them. They don't know what's going to happen. Science is hard, and they're limited by science just as a human would be. But they also have the top scientific minds in the world at their disposal. So I would say that's my favorite episode, just because it had a Vegas tie-in, and it was and they're still showing that Welcome Carol sign on the Westgate sign in Las Vegas. So it's even though the stupid next season is going to take 14 years, we have a reminder of the show every time we drive by Westgate. How about yourself?
Least favorite was episode 8, which you liked. I just felt it was a little too rushed. It's the episode where Carol kind of gives in to Zosha and the hive mind and kind of stops her quest to save humanity. And so it's kind of like it's a long date that they go on. And I felt like it was a little bit too exposition heavy. I felt like they could have broken that up into 2 episodes, and it felt like Carol just kind of gave in a little bit too easily. I would have liked to see a little bit more like resistance. Like even after she hooked up, I feel like she hooked up with Zosha and then it was like, okay, yeah, she just completely forgot about her agenda. I would have liked to see a little bit more of her kind of pulling away again and then coming back. But yeah, it just felt a little bit too rushed for me. But then again, I've also heard, not to stereotype, but for kind of girl on girl relationships, that once you hook up or once you kind of enter into a relationship, like you're committed right away. And so that actually kind of tracks, since our protagonist is she's a lesbian, and so it kind of tracks that she would just kind of fall for her and then just go head over heels and just forget every plan she had and just go with it until I guess Menudo shows up and, like I said, ropes her back in.
It's very interesting question about Zosha and whether Zosha was a lesbian before she needed to be, before it served the purpose of helping Carol be happy. And
yeah, consent is a big theme in the show, I think.
What is?
Just the concept of consent.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, because of all the women.
All the banging in the Vegas episode.
That are kind of at his disposal. There are a lot of questions about, wait a second, they are presumably going to come back. And when they come back, they will have been given the little
podcast,
one by
so
the...
What are you doing? Describe to the audience what you're doing.
I'm using the mind's eye. They're getting it from the behind, from the guy.
They never say that it's from the behind.
Look, it's a sci-fi fantasy show.
Maybe that's why he wanted to do the maid, because she was willing to. The 6-year-old
like she was the
maid.
only one in the whole hive mind. The maid was the only one who was up for butt stuff.
No, and they're all the same, so it wouldn't matter. But that scene was At first I thought that scene was just showing that it was a joke that went too far because the hive doesn't really pick up on humor. But then I realized I think he's bored. I think he's already bored. He has the most beautiful women around him and he's just sick of hot women. He wants to see some 60-year-old action and it's just different. And so I feel like that was kind of planting a seed to show that, yeah, this whole utopia, this awesome existence that he's leading and, the other people are in denial about what's going on, like the woman in India who is just kind of carrying on like life is normal, that, yeah, they are going to reach a point where they're going to actually join up with Carol and Menounos as well and be like, okay, yeah, this is not the way. Like, we have to do something.
So you think other of the 13 are going to join forces with them?
Yeah, and I thought this would be interesting, and I know you're gonna disagree with me, but I'm gonna do it anyway. But I made a note of, so there's 6 characters that we haven't met yet, and so I think that I was gonna ask you predictions for season 2. So I think they're going to be roped in as well. We're gonna take time to learn about them and what they're dealing with. But there is a 68-year-old candy maker in Istanbul, 74-year-old contortionist dancer from Bali, 89-year-old fisherman from Sardinia, an 8-year-old from Lesotho, I think, whose family raises ponies, a 37-year-old singer from Yemen, and a guy from Japan who makes noodles, who's a restaurateur. So that's going to be a whole cast of what? I think it's interesting for people that haven't seen the show to
Good
be like,
research.
Okay, we're going to be introduced to 6 new people, and I think that, yeah, the people that we've already seen, some of them are going to join up, and I think people we haven't seen yet are also going to.
And the reason we haven't met them, just as background, if you haven't seen it, is because for Carol's first meeting, she only wanted to meet with people who spoke English, and so that's how many did not speak English. Even though they offered to translate, she said no, just as the people who spoke English. So for many of them, English was a second language, but they did speak English. So I predict that I really want to be surprised. That's why I'm praying, and I don't pray, but I'm praying that they have thought this through and that there are more twists, because even if the twists are kind of like, oh, it's cannibalism. Okay, we've seen that at Soylent Green. We got it. And each of the twists that have happened have been like, oh, there's precedent for this. Oh, and we should say that if people are interested in Pluribus, they should go down the rabbit hole of kind of Vince Gilligan's inspiration and the Twilight Zone. Is that the doggy behind there?
No, it's just my background.
Yeah,
it's a mind of its own.
Oh, it's not the dog doing it?
No.
Can you make it fall again like in the last episode?
Go on. We're almost in an hour. Go on.
So Twilight Zone, especially the episode that you just referenced, this idea of if you have everything you want all the time without trying, do you get bored by that? Does that get old? It's like if you're Elon Musk and you have infinity resources, you can do or have anything or anyone. Presumably the only women that are going to say no to you for sex are the ones who are not. It's the whatever number of those 13 people. So that would be my goal. I'd try to snag one of the ones that were not, that had not been infected. So that would be, even if I could have everything else, you'd want the one that was the challenge, because if it's not a challenge, why bother? Deep thought.
Wow. So was that your prediction, or did you just go on?
No, I was trying to say I don't have any predictions.
Oh, okay.
I think it gets complicated because it would be really hard to decide that this woman that you love and that you're happy with, that you're going to give that up to save the world in some arbitrary world. And the case could be made, you're doing all that to make the world back to a terrible place. So those are big questions. And it's kind of cool that we found this, it's through the eyes of this character who may play a pivotal part in being able to make that decision. Because what if this idea, like when she gets upset, everybody goes catatonic, right? Well, what if you don't need to blow up the world? You just need to be really upset. And everybody, like something cataclysmic happens just because you're mad. Because it's already happened. She killed presumably millions of people just having a temper tantrum. So that, I think that's an interesting area of exploration. That's kind of on the sci-fi side, but I love the parts that really get to like AI, because to me there's a lot of parallels with AI that make this story very current, because AI theoretically makes everybody a genius. It gives you access to all human knowledge. And so at that point, if Elon Musk says we won't have to really work, we won't really have to have money anymore because we'll just have, everyone will have access to abundance. And so that's a fundamental change in the human brain and the human society, culture, all the things that we've known all our lives. Luckily, I'm close enough to death that even if we all turn into drones, that's fine. What do you're not going to get that big a piece of it. Why are you happy if I'm croaking?
So what? It's not that big, trust me.
My estate.
Yeah, your estate. That's what I was talking about.
Never say the words, it's not that big. Please.
Just
because somebody's going to cut out that clip.
I was talking about your wealth. It's not, you just talked about Elon Musk, so I was just comparing you to Elon and just saying that your wealth isn't as big.
You don't know.
Now I see why people structure podcasts, have outlines, have a script even, because this was an absolute shit show. I'm sorry, but we are so all over the place. The show is way too complex for two people to just sit and bring up random things and random scenes and characters, and I just feel like this is a hot mess.
You are so wrong. And here's my feedback for this episode. If you're thinking about how the podcast is, then you're not in the moment. So if you're already being critical of what we're doing right now. Have you met me?
Of course I'm going to be critical. If I put something out there, I don't want it to be a steaming pile of...
Well, it's too late. You've already steamed it and piled it. And
steaming butter pasta.
I love that we just, I'm going there right now. 7:30, they close at 10. Okay, I might shower. So that it's, if you, in my world, that is the purpose of the podcast. It's the reason I'm going to listen to it. But I love that we're disagreeing about this too, because I'm telling you, conflict is gold.
And I also think we need to have a system to time, because it's not structured. I think my issue is that we are going off, and I'm doing it too. I'm kind of going off, I think I'm staying on topic, but then I'll bring up another scene or something that happened later in the show. So we're jumping back and forth. And then it's harder for the other person to respond because we have deviated from the original topic. And so I just have high standards. I mean, what can I say? If I put something out there, I want it to be good, and I want it to be not just us enjoying it or us thinking it's good. And I want someone to get value out of it, because I just happen to have a big heart and I'm very compassionate.
You do have
I have a large amount of compassion, and I don't want to bore people.
Well, then we're going to refine things as we go along. This conversation, our production meeting, is part of the podcast.
I think we should do that. I think we should give constructive feedback on the podcast. And I think that we should have a timer so we can make sure that things are even, that we aren't overdoing it, over speaking. So then the other person has equal time to respond. And so I'm going to do that actually.
What are you proposing?
That I'm going to just have a stopwatch next time and just see.
Oh my God.
Make sure that it's even.
That is the worst idea I've ever heard.
Yeah, I wonder why. Because you're going to have to shut up if you go over your allotted time. That's you're not.
Measure the amount of time that we've talked on this episode, and you will find it is exactly even to the second.
Okay.
It's the perception, but you did much better listening. Thank you.
This podcast is helping me become a better person in addition to being a better speaker. So yeah, I did take your suggestions to heart. So I did a lot more listening this time, a lot less interrupting.
I think you did great. I love that you had notes. I have no interest.
They all went to shit because we went off script. Anyways,
I have no interest in structure or notes. It's like homework.
Yeah,
I don't need a job. I don't want a job. This is supposed to capture the conversations that we are having offline. It's to record the conversations we're having. So when it's structured or there's a numbered list or a listicle, to me, we would never do that in a phone conversation. So why should we do it on a podcast?
Okay, so we are an hour and 5 minutes. So
I have never once looked.
What did you think of my outro? Are we gonna use
going.
it? Are we gonna use my outro?
It's pretty snappy.
Sweet.
It just takes time to upload it and have it made into a thing. I think we should just play yours. Your
Works
version.
For me. All right. Well,
really?
That's it for this episode. This is Melissa Vegas signing off.
Wait, what are we gonna do? What
continue.
are we gonna do the next episode though? So
what are we gonna do for the next episode?
Oh, are we supposed to do
Oscars, Sinners, and One Battle After Another?
What was the other one?
One Battle After Another, because you saw that one, right? With Leo DiCaprio?
Yes. So there will be a lot of side paths because I don't remember those movies very much. So there'll be a lot of a side comment. So look forward to that.
Expect it at this point.
And thank you for listening. We very much appreciate you downloading, streaming. Don't leave a review. It's so annoying.
Please don't.
No, don't do that because it'll be very discouraging. Or we'll have to spend time like responding, and that's just a bunch of hooey. Nobody's really up for that. It takes time away from our butter pasta. I think I'm going to have the kids' pizza tonight. They put pepperoni on it last time, which was gross, but I have to remember to tell them just cheese. And then I have to publish a story about me being featured on a trading card with this new card game about Las Vegas. So I'm busy. I
already signed off, so I'm just waiting for you. I actually respect people's time.
That's a good way to end it.